People around here trust the shepherds. Jamie, Adam, and the other Jamie. They always have. The sheep trust them too. Gather round. I'll throw another log on the fire. Turn it up just a touch, cause another episode of the BHHcast is starting now.
All right, sheep, we have a great BHHcast episode that is about to start. We are focused on true crime, perhaps the most popular genre of podcast out there. We have gathered some interesting hosts, interesting stories that you might want to learn more about. What do we do with them? We do lightning round only. This will be our focus on a true crime episode of the BHHcast. Lightning rounds only. More after this. Welcome back to the BHHcast. Our guests this segment are the hosts of Ye Olde Crime podcast, Lindsay and Madison, just a couple of Midwestern girls interested in the spooky, the strange, and surreal stories of the past.
Ooh.
Welcome to the BHHcast.
Thank you for having us.
Welcome.
Thank you.
We all do the same thing, right? When we try to come up with how to describe the podcast, who are the people on the podcast, the person who's coming and listening, you kind of do like a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup thing with Lindsay loves all things true crime.
Yeah.
Madison loves a good story. Together,
Put your true crime in my good story.
Oh my God! Your true crime got in my good story. My good story got in your true crime.
You're like, oh, this is delicious.
All right. So what makes tragedy of the past so compelling?
I think just hearing the stories and then realizing just how similar they actually are to current events. Like you think of the past and you think of these cases and crimes that took place and you're like, there's no way that kind of thing would happen now, or that's just so ridiculous that whatever that was happened. But then when you really like kind of boil down into it, it's like, is it really?
Right.
Like,
that kind of happened yesterday. Yeah.
I love the fact that up until, say, the 70s, you could get away with crimes by moving out of town.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right? You're like, that's impossible.
I think that's actually in the Bible, that if you committed certain crimes, you just had to move to particular cities.
Right.
And you were safe from
Get out of
retribution.
Dodge. Literally, get out of Dodge was the phrase, right?
I have an idea now that I'm thinking about it, which could be maybe like a Saturday Night Live-ish skit premise. And it's a earlier time than modern time traveling detective. And he shows up from the 1950s. And he's like, we're never going to be able to solve this because the main suspect moved. We're never going to be able to find him. Cold case, this one.
At least 5 people need to walk through the crime scene.
Right?
Somebody
Right.
needs to eat the pie that they were eating before they got murdered.
Right.
That's right.
Turns out the investigator actually did the murder. It was his third family. He had to cut him off.
Think about the concept of the alternate family that lived like I'm not saying this is the case, but the stereotypical like Manhattan lawyer by day and trusting family man in Long Island, and it's like you crossed one bridge and created an entire another family. Nobody saw you at 2 Little League games, and they're like, nope,
Never happened.
never happened.
Not that guy.
Yeah,
because
not
that
that
guy
guy.
was
Wore a
wearing a hat.
Yeah, right.
Right.
We're never gonna figure it out.
It's crazy to think of how many people have been kept out of jail by a mustache.
I mean, you look just like him, other than the facial hair.
Yep. Can't be.
All
Must
right.
be his cousin.
Beyond the peanut butter and the chocolate, let's learn a little bit about the podcast.
That's I was just gonna ask that question.
I know. That's why I wanted to kind of give you the lead.
Set up the question for the question.
Yeah, a little
All
handoff.
right, so did you have something you wanted to add, John?
Well,
No,
I was
please don't
thinking
ruin
that
our
we
flow
could,
again.
No, I was thinking that we could ask them about the podcast.
We should definitely ask, like, how did they come up with the podcast?
You know, we'd like to talk about our podcast if we could.
That's a great idea. Let's do that now.
Yeah.
Let's do that now.
Now, okay.
Lindsay's had no
Great.
good ideas,
Yeah.
but finally Madison flies in with one. Thank you, Madison. Let's go.
All right, so
Anytime.
what was the genesis? How did it come about? Tell people who are unfamiliar.
Madison and I both have a great love and deep respect for lore, which was kind of our gateway podcast into the giant realm that is podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of an idea that I've been kicking around for a long time because he covers a lot of older cases, which kind of made me think, you know, there are a lot of things that happened in history that no one ever really talks about or knows much of anything about. And, you know, pretty much everyone has a more current true crime podcast. Not to say that those aren't also great, but I was just like, there's just something about historic crimes that just kind of really called to me. And then, of course, COVID hit. And I reached out to Maddie and was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast?
I had nothing else to do, so I agreed.
And that's how it started.
Do you think that the true crime genre is a more American phenomenon, or is it a worldwide phenomenon? Is people's fascination with crime really boundaryless?
I think it's boundaryless. Like, one of the first things that kind of shocked me was we have listeners all across the globe. And I think, we've collaborated once already with people in Europe. And I think generally people are just interested in crimes and like what people are capable of.
So I never thought about the idea of saying, okay, guys, let's start a true crime podcast. And to ensure that we have content, let's focus on crimes in the worst policed country.
Ooh.
You would never run out of content.
That's what I mean. It would be unlimited content. And they'd be like, yeah, I know. We live here. They're all unsolved.
It's the Florida man of podcasts.
The Florida man of podcast. Exactly. So do you think that sincere sentiments can be made creepy just because you whisper them?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we believe the same thing. We've been whispering.
We've been having fun. I think I'm going to start using the whisper more.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The whisper is a powerful weapon.
Yeah.
I think you should do an outgoing voicemail message, full whisper.
Ooh.
Oh, like whisper yelling?
No, I would just go full, not like ASMR video, right? But it would be like, thank you for calling my voicemail. I'm in a meeting right now and I can't pick up.
So creepy.
I don't want to interrupt the other people. That's why I'm whispering in this voicemail.
I swear I'm not in the bathroom pooping.
Actually, you
And
know
then
what?
you have like the flush sound.
Okay. So I'm shocked by the number of people who conduct phone calls in the bathroom.
Right?
Oh, it's
And it's the acoustics of
nightmare.
a bathroom give that away so
100%.
quickly. Like, and you immediately know when you're talking to
You're-
someone in a
you are
bathroom
in a
because there's
bathroom.
something about a shower and all the porcelain in that room that immediately messes up the
No,
acoustics.
but I'm saying public bathrooms.
oh,
Public
that's-
bathrooms.
That's outrageous.
Okay.
That's not okay.
But
Yeah.
but are on speakerphone.
Not okay.
Why are you
I swear to God, like, do any of you guys listen to Tom Segura? His bit about people that talk on speakerphone is 100% accurate. Like, everyone who talks on speakerphone and like walks around and assumes that everybody else cares about their conversations needs to either get hit by a car or be like shipped off somewhere else so they can have their like speakerphone conversations around everybody else, because it is so annoying.
I couldn't agree
It's
more.
the worst.
I couldn't agree more.
Are you saying FaceTime calls in the bathroom are taboo?
Well, I mean, let's just talk
Are you
about.
FaceTime audio or FaceTime video? Are you saying it's full
It's
FaceTime?
okay as
Video,
long,
but I
as,
flip
long
the
as you
camera.
mute during the flush.
Oh,
you gotta be
geez.
respectful.
There is a lot
As
of
long as it's consensual. I mean,
yeah.
Consensual.
There's a lot of faith that goes into that mute button.
True.
this is very true.
Yeah. So I know we've gotten off.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Right?
Just-
We just restarted our over 40 basketball league, and because it's the summer session, we've kind of merged two teams, and we've had one
There you
game
go.
so far. And
Where's this going? Why'd you bring that
I
up?
don't know where
It
it's
was
going.
definitely
that was
a true
my point.
crime,
Yeah,
that's
it
for
was
sure.
It was a true crime the way we play basketball.
It is
Yeah, that's about it. though.
mystery of where all the baskets went.
Ladies-
Are you planning something?
Yeah.
What's the
Someone's
oldest?
inhaler is actually filled with helium and it doesn't help.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that's a great idea.
Crime.
Yeah.
Oh my
That is a
God.
great idea. He's like, hey guys, my head doesn't seem to be working.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Okay, what is the oldest?
I think you're in trouble, but you're also hilarious right now.
okay.
You are so
Right.
Back to their podcast.
funny.
What is the oldest you guys want to go with with a true crime? I mean, how far back? We're talking Roman times. We're talking Egyptians. How far back are we going for true crime?
I think the
We did do
oldest
Roman.
we've done is Roman.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the
Lightning round. It is
Yes.
time to do lightning round. These are deep questions, quick answers. I'm optimistic that this shall be good content here with Lindsay and Madison. We're going to do a practice question. The practice question, each of you have to answer all of the questions. And the practice question is clockwise or counterclockwise.
Clockwise.
Counter. I like chaos.
Uh-oh.
What the hell are we going to do now?
I
All
have no
right, so
idea.
we're going to go clockwise with one and counterclockwise with the other, beginning with Jamie.
Would you put butter upon bacon?
It's too opulent. It's just too much.
If
Can't
it's
do
on
it.
a decadent BLT, I absolutely would.
That was her question. So now, who went clockwise?
I went.
Oh, no, we're not doing that.
No, we are. So Lindsay went clockwise. So, Lindsay, a cop comes to your door and wants to ask you a few questions. What's the right answer?
I don't know.
Yes, that's exactly the right answer.
All right, Madison. What is normal now that will be considered unethical and barbaric in 100 years?
Shaking hands.
All right, back to Jamie.
I think we're at Adam now.
Yeah, we're at Adam.
Adam
Back
to Madison.
Adam.
Yeah, Adam to Madison. What is scarier when you're home alone? Finding a dead bunny in a pot or hearing a toilet flush upstairs?
Say the bunny.
Okay.
Are you referring to a murder bucket?
Lindsay. What is normal now that will be considered unethical and barbaric in 100 years?
Driving.
Back to you, Jamie.
This is for both of you. With a bit of mullygrubs, tell us how annoyed you are to be on the podcast.
I'm not annoyed at all, sir.
Excellent. Well,
On a scale of 1 to get the hell out, I am a see you tomorrow. I don't know.
Good one.
Nothing. Having a good time.
Adam,
Who's my question for?
no idea.
Jamie?
My question?
No, who's my question for?
You start with Lindsay.
Okay, Lindsay, which childhood trauma affected you the most?
Probably that time that I tried to drown my sister thinking that she was going to be Jesus.
Yeah, we tried to walk on water after learning about it in Sunday school.
Oh, I love this. How uncomfortable are you right now, religion guy?
No, I'm actually not uncomfortable. Like I feel like that should be an entire episode. There's
just talk about-
there's a lot to unpack
unpacking
there.
there.
Yeah.
That's going to be in part 2 of our interview.
Part two.
Right.
The crime was we ruined our dad's boots, and he could never buy a pair like that again.
Yep.
Oh.
But we learned a valuable lesson. Don't
Don't.
try to drown your siblings.
I like the fact that you asked Lindsay that question. Madison's hands went straight up.
Yep.
She
I am honestly surprised you didn't say the time I ran into the doorknob and I blood was coming down my nightgown and she saw me at the top of the staircase just bleeding.
Oh, wow.
Like that wasn't traumatic for you?
No.
Just another day?
No.
Not traumatic.
we're gonna step aside. You guys talk about that for a minute.
Let's get through that.
Let's dissect that for a second.
Right.
Mr. Bennell.
Madison.
Yes.
Who do you act nice around, but secretly dislike?
Hold on. I'm gonna put Lindsay in a private room for a second.
No, just kidding.
Okay.
It's definitely not her. I don't know, select coworkers.
Selected
suppose.
coworkers.
Yeah. And they'll never know because I'm nice to all of them.
Madison, what is your lucky? Do you have a lucky number? And if so, what is it?
I always happen to pick 17.
Okay.
Lindsay. Who do you act nice around, but secretly dislike?
You should put me in that other room.
Get the hell out of here, Madison. I mean, I love you.
But secretly dislike you.
Secretly plot your death, but you didn't know.
This might be why she was not moved by the bleeding Madison at the top of the
Bleeding
stairs.
head.
My dislike for you is secret.
Are we back to Jamie?
I'm going to have to second Maddie's answer. There are
Select
certain
coworkers.
coworkers that I am overly nice to as I hide my rage deep inside.
Do you both work at the same place?
No.
Okay.
No.
Because if you did, I would love to see the Venn diagram of people you secretly dislike.
It'd
whether-
probably be about the same.
Whether there
Seem
would be
in the
common
danger
people.
zone.
To be like, oh my God, you like Bob?
Bob is
Like,
horrible.
he is miserable. Why is he not in your secret dislike list? Okay. Jamie, back to you. Third question.
What would your pirate name be?
Scarlett O'Hallahan.
Oh,
Did you hear that?
I like it.
Scarlett O'Hallahan.
Nice.
Madison, to you.
Oh, mine was just Thump.
Thump,
Thump the pirate.
thump the pirate.
Do you actually
Knowing my
think
clumsiness, I'd have some sort of.
I
You
actually-
have 2 peg legs.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
like,
You know she's coming. You can hear her thumping.
Arr, you can hear Thump coming from a mile away.
Through the fog, I heard thump.
Scarlet O'Hannigan, you know thumps are coming.
By the way, if you pitched me on
Are we not doing lightning round?
No, we're off this. If you pitched me on a
All right, fine. Lightning round shut down.
on a semi-animated movie about Thump the Pirate, starring Russell Brand as Thump the Pirate, I would be so in.
I am writing checks.
Yeah.
If I hear that movie pitch,
Oh
Thump
my
the
God,
Pirate,
it's
Russell
Thump the
Brand.
Pirate.
You got to say TM, TM, TM after that so no one else takes it.
Yeah, TM,
TM.
TM. Yeah. All right, you're up.
No, I'm done. I'm not.
All right,
you guys
so then
aren't
I'll
abiding-
ask your
you're
questions.
not abiding by the
My
rules.
question here is, what's a secret you have never told anyone?
While you're pondering that, was boxing Helena about Thump?
No.
Back to you.
I almost killed a chipmunk once and I didn't feel bad about it.
Damn.
Jeez, you went chipmunk. That's like, I mean, oh.
I think we're gonna
To be fair, to give you some background.
To be fair.
To be fair,
There-
they antagonize my dogs to the point where it's like a real problem, and they hide in like the downspouts of my gutters. So then my dogs like rip them off the side of the house. So when I caught it, I didn't feel real bad about catching it and like chucking it into the woods
That's
behind my
self-defense.
house, because I was like, "You deserve this."
I put melatonin gummies in a fruit snack once.
You did
Give
what?
it to a kid.
Melatonin to a kid as a snack?
Bedtime snack.
Wow.
Done. Well done.
Was
You
it
guys
one
are
of my
horrible
kids?
people.
Was that,
One of your kids.
this kid would not shut up. It was time for him to go to bed.
Yeah.
He was wondering why that one tasted like flowers.
And that's the all-natural
She
way
just
to
admitted
avoid
to
NyQuil.
drugging her sister's kid.
To be fair, your other kid said to do it, so.
Well then, if my other kid said to drug my other kid, then it's probably okay.
I mean, as the aunt, I
You listened to her.
Hey, listen. You should know that my mother throws chipmunks.
Yeah. Yes. My mom's
So,
a chipmunk thrower, so
this
she's
is
probably
kinda
cool with
totally
you drugging my
fine.
brother.
A little low key. By the way, that is the most patient babysitter ever. Slow acting, time release melatonin. Right?
No Benadryl.
There is no like, hey, no, we're out of cherry syrup, but there's this Benadryl that's here in the cabinet. We're gonna have that on our ice cream.
Well, you can't rub, some brandy on the gums anymore, so
no.
you got to do what you got to do.
Okay.
But I love you. It's fine.
could
I
you
probably would have done it
imagine-
too.
Yeah,
I probably would have done it too.
I would never be so brave as to dip my finger in brandy and stick it in another person's mouth.
Hey,
Same.
that will be the crime. It is the crime now,
Right?
I suppose.
Yeah.
My mother did that to me all the time.
Rub brandy in your mouth?
She was a big fan of Jack Daniels will solve all problems. And so she would, like, if I had a toothache or if I had any kind of headache or anything, she'd be like, let me just hear it. She'd be putting it,
Wait, wasn't that in Utah?
it was in Utah. She's European though. So like they have a relationship with alcohol that's like, just give them alcohol. Everything will be great.
She's like, no, don't worry. We're not drinking it. I'm just using it on the baby.
Yeah. It's just a little Jack for the kid. A little old number 7.
It's just topical. It's fine.
Right.
Topical whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody loves topical whiskey.
Right.
I mean,
doesn't?
think about how many doctors were prescribing topical whiskey
Yeah. Back in the
for
day.
gunshot wounds and stabbings and all kinds
Right.
of
The
other
Civil
things.
War, you don't think they were asking for, anybody got a bottle of whiskey? Yeah. All the time.
All right, so what do we have upcoming old crimes?
What can our listeners look forward to?
Hey guys, what's new in the world of old crime?
What's new in the world of old things?
Oh man, should I leave? It's always supposed to be a surprise for me.
Oh,
'cause-
okay.
Oh, that's true. I'm
well-
sorry.
You do the private room.
I can give you an idea of some of the things that are going to be coming up. We're going to very soon be covering some social unrest that's come up that results in some murders.
Nice.
That's never happened.
Murder.
That never happens.
No.
Love social unrest that gives rise to murders.
But right now, through the end of July, we're still doing listener picks episodes, like from everybody who donated to our equipment fund. We, as a thank you, we're like, here, pick an episode that we can dedicate to you as a thank you for helping us purchase our equipment. So
Yeah,
we're
they
still
bought
gonna
me
be-
shoes. Yeah, it was nice.
Oh,
Does that count as
shoes.
equipment?
I'm kidding. They didn't.
I control the fun, so.
Yeah, she does. I haven't eaten in 3 days.
Send help and whiskey. Medical only.
Send help via Patreon or buy me a coffee. Like a literal coffee, please.
Just buy me coffee.
just
Click
a cup
the
of
buy
coffee.
me coffee button. All right, guys, we do appreciate it. Head over and listen to become a subscriber and be notified when there are new episodes available. Lindsay, Madison, we sure do appreciate it.
Sheep, watch out. They're running a Patreon scam, though, for coffee.
We want a trampoline.
Oh,
so.
now it's a trampoline. Okay. Sheep, if you
A
want to help the
trampoline that lets you,
fund.
like, it serves you coffee as you jump on it.
Oh.
It's innovative.
I've been looking for one of those. All right, but ladies, it's been a pleasure having you. And Sheep, head over to Ye Old Crime.
All right, we appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Have a
Bye,
good
guys.
night.
Thank you.
Be good.
It was fun.
All right, Lindsay, Madison, hosts of Ye Old Crime. All right, we are going to be back with additional hosts of additional true crime podcasts right after this. All right, the BHHcast continues. This is our true crime focused episode, lightning rounds mostly. Our next guest is the host of Complicit, a true mystery podcast hosted by Hillary Wadsworth. Hillary, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so let's give the quick synopsis of your podcast and what it is about.
Yes. So our podcast, I have a co-host, Caitlin, and our podcast is about the mysterious disappearance of a young woman named Lauren DeMolo who vanished mysteriously, and her disappearance remains unsolved and full of layers and clues and people who are keeping quiet. And it's just remained a mystery. So we walk you through everything going on in Lauren's life just prior to her disappearance, about a month before, and continue on with the case and all of the crazy things that come up as the detectives begin investigating.
All right, so what was the prompt or the genesis of your decision to start the podcast?
So we know the missing woman's half-sister, and we saw a Facebook post and thought, well, this is strange. We're true crime lovers our entire lives. We grew up together, our co-host and I. Mm-hmm. So we knew we shared this interest. We started Googling and seeing, deep diving on people's social medias and seeing whatever we could figure out on our own. And then it just got to a point after evidence had been planted under people's noses mysteriously that we got to a point where we're like, we have to tell this story. And we thought, hey, maybe we could make this sound really good, tell the story. It's certainly interesting enough, and get it in front of a greater audience, which we actually have done.
But from from a personal background perspective, what made you feel like, all right, this is the one that I want to tackle, right? We've talked about how podcasts are sort of like garage bands for dads who don't play instruments.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lower barrier to entry. Every time we were obsessed with the case long before, not that long, but the case, she disappeared June 19th, 2020. We launched our podcast February 3rd, 2021. So it's pretty recent. Mm-hmm. And we were just so obsessed with the case and thought podcasting was such a lower barrier to entry. You get a mic, record. It is GarageBand for dads. Right. It's exactly what you're saying. And we made it sound good with a production company. And that's how we told the story. We had an in with the family since we knew her half sister. So we were able to get access very quickly to those around her friends, her family. Even the detectives were talking to us at first, and then they shut up pretty quickly after listening to the podcast. They didn't like how they were being portrayed, which, we tried to stay very neutral and everything and just tell the facts. So it's interesting that they didn't like the facts that were being told, but that's another story.
So this is a cart before the horse, right? The idea is they didn't start a podcast and then find their case. You guys had the case, and that gave rise to the podcast.
That's right, because we were obsessed with the case, like I said, and helping to find out what happened and connect some dots, but remotely. So every time it's all we talked about with anyone we met. Basically, we were like, did you hear about this girl who went missing and this and that? And, everyone would sort of look at us, whoever we were telling, and say, this is a book, this is a movie. And then finally we were like, no, this is a podcast. And we thought, we don't have an answer now. This was back then. So we thought, well, it's an evergreen thing that we could just keep adding episodes when we do find out more information. Like a book or a movie, that is after the fact. That doesn't really help. It doesn't put pressure. We happen to know for a fact that some persons of interest in the case listen to the podcast because we had confidential sources come back with screenshots from them saying, I never said that. I never said it that way.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's really interesting feedback. And, of course, it's just, this is very specific if you haven't listened to the show. But for example, one of the, just someone involved that we had a source quoted something different, and we had to go fact check, and it was wrong. It just, all these things were like, and the first thing we think is, oh, you listen to the show?
Right.
I'm just picturing one of them leaving like a 1-star review.
This is horrible.
So we got one, and it was funny because it was, you stole music, and we were like, what? No, we paid for all our music. Like, shut up. Like, you're going to leave 1 star for that. But yeah, and even when the detective said, he had listened to the podcast, we were like, oh, you listened to the podcast? It's been a very interesting journey.
So when you enter into a podcast like you did, where the crime gave rise, or the question gave rise to the podcast, are you going to continue with this crime for the rest of the life of the podcast, or do you think, or how do you get the second one? I guess my thought becomes, because this is what gave rise to the podcast, do you just continue with this one until you come to resolution and then shut it down, or how's that work?
I think, yes, we definitely continue with this case, but other people have since written to us about other cases they'd like us to look into for other seasons. So I think we'd do a hybrid. So we'd continue, adding to season 1, which is the Lauren DeMolo's case, and then consider what we're going to do for future cases. So the premise, because we thought this through at first, I love writing, Caitlin's the narrator. So, we kind of decided early on that if we love it, if we're somewhat successful at it, then we would continue with cases because we both really enjoy it, and being victim advocates and family advocates on a greater platform. And we've managed to do that. Her father, Paul's been on a bunch of podcasts and, of course, news and media and all that. But we will definitely continue because we like helping. It's a good feeling.
It's interesting. Nobody has ever written us asking us to discuss
Anything?
Well, I mean, yeah, we just don't do that.
I mean, granted, we produce a lot of pretty good content, so
it's
you
mostly
really shouldn't be that
comedians on our
critical
show.
of
So
it. Yeah. Have you guys ever thought about focusing on this?
yeah, have you ever thought about focusing?
I haven't. I
Since
haven't thought
on
about
Jerry
it because
Seinfeld?
we're
Yeah.
really super.
Yeah, since we generally interview stand-up comedians, I guess it'd be unlikely that we get an open micer who writes to us and says, I've got a very compelling joke to tell
Yeah.
you.
Have you ever? Would you guys please explore why I'm not being booked in this room?
Why?
It is one of the true crimes of comedy booking.
Is that I
Why
have
am I
been
not?
I haven't not headlined.
Yeah, I'm so funny. There are other people headlining. It's a conspiracy against me.
One of our comedians' favorite segments of our podcast
Lightning round
is the lightning round.
All right, so here's what we do. We ask somewhat deep questions to which we want short answers.
Got it.
All right. So the very first question is a practice one. Very simple. Clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
All right. Starting with Jamie.
All right, scale of 1 to 10. How good are you at keeping secrets?
Which is 1, which is 10.
That's an excellent point. 1 is terrible. 10 is lock solid.
10.
Follow-up question. What is a juicy secret that someone has told you?
You don't get follow-up questions. It's a lightning round. Do not answer that, Hillary. Let's go to me.
I wouldn't. I'm a 10.
Thank you, Hillary.
Bingo. What do you like most about the state where you live?
Most? The beaches.
What do you think your life will look like in 10 years?
Probably a lot like it does right now.
You were put into the witness protection program Where is your ideal location to be sent? Actually, don't say that one in case you're ever put into the witness protection program. Where's your second favorite
know
place
where
to
to
be
find
sent?
me?
Right. Where's your second favorite place to be sent?
My second favorite place to be sent is Paris.
For the beaches.
For the beaches. For the proximity to beach town. You said second favorite.
That was right. I'm
You
sorry.
did
Yeah,
indeed.
right?
You did indeed.
Yes.
Who was what true crime would you like to know the answer to if you could definitely get the answer and it was correct? What true crime would you like to know?
Besides Lauren DeMolo?
This besides the one you're working on.
Where is Amelia Earhart?
Good one.
What toy played the most significant part in your childhood?
G.I. Joe.
If you needed to check into a hotel with a fake name, what is the second most likely name that you would use?
What was the one from Will and Grace Beaverhausen? I love that one. I forget what first name she used though.
We'll take that. To
What's
you,
your
Adam.
favorite memory from childhood?
Well, let's see. I'd say the swim team. I loved it. I loved that swim
This is a
team.
lady who likes water.
I really like water. It's true.
I'm gonna tell you something about swim team. I was a terrible swimmer,
No
but
one cares.
I love.
This
just
is not about you. It's
shush.
lightning round.
Shush.
I want to hear.
Yeah, thank you. I was a terrible swimmer, like borderline drowning every time I was going. But the best part about swim team was the Jello packets that we would take, and everyone would just sit there, and as you're waiting for your whatever race to come up, we'd sit there and just eat straight Jello powder. It was awesome.
I'm going to start bringing Jello powder to our 40 and over basketball games.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'll be
it'll
like,
change
hey,
everything.
listen,
Just make it work.
what are you doing? I'm eating straight Jello packets like I did when I was in the 10 and under backstroke.
I believe I was a tenth of a second faster
Yeah.
because of that Jello powder.
Okay, we were allowed that is a tell me you are over 40 without telling me you are over 40.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, I ate Jello packets at swim team
Right.
without the Jello.
We're,
All right. I think this is the final lightning round
final
question, right?
lightning round question.
All right. Hillary,
Shoot.
what are you purposefully ignoring, even though you know you should probably deal with it?
The COVID weight gain.
That's
I
our
know
lightning
that's
round.
a lame answer, but
Not a
it's-
lame answer.
That's the truth.
Yeah. And it's
The COVID. What are they calling it? The COVID
19.
19. Yeah.
Yeah. The COVID-19.
COVID-19, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we appreciate you being a guest on our podcast. We do hope that people check out Complicit wherever they subscribe and download their favorite podcasts. Hillary Wadsworth is the catalyst behind the Complicit podcast. And we hope that
With a co-host.
with a co-host, but, to the extent that the co-host wasn't a participant in the interview this evening.
Right.
She was unavailable this evening. and
unavailable,
trusted
but-
me to give my very lame lightning round answers.
You
on
crushed
her
it. I wouldn't say there were anything lame about them. You crushed it. But we do hope that the work that you're doing to bring light to this case and some resolution to the family continues to move in a positive direction, because we have discussed in other segments that whole issue of would you want resolution or no resolution? And I think the answer is conclusively resolution is better.
Agree. A lot of shows do it for entertainment value. As you stated, we had the case fall in our laps and it ended up being a podcast. That was our preferred medium of communicating it to gain resolution. So, yeah, we definitely want resolution.
All right. Well, we hope it moves in that direction. Thank you for joining us here on the podcast.
Thank you.
All right, that was Hillary Wadsworth. Complicit is the podcast. Check it out. It's very interesting. It is a very weird story and fairly recent. 2020 wasn't that long ago, and this is a case that comes from 2020. Sometimes it's easy to think of these true crime subjects to be a little bit older, a little bit colder. Sounds like two lyrics from a Kenny Loggins song. But the reality is that they are happening every day and impacting families such as it is. We are going to be back with more of this true crime focused episode of Lightning Round Only, a BHHcast. Momentito. All right, this is the BHHcast. We are back. We're focusing this episode on true crime hosts and podcasts. We're doing lightning rounds only. Sometimes that influences the lightning round questions we ask, but not always. We are joined now by the host of The Jury Room. Kevin, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. We don't like to speak for the hosts of the podcast because we feel we might say things that are contrary to how they envision their show or what the takeaway should be. So give us the 30-second elevator pitch of The Jury Room.
The Jury Room podcast is more or less just, a true crime podcast, but still told in a story form. It's not necessarily just, saying the facts. It's, basing a narrative around the story of whatever it may be. And that could be from a serial killer to an unsolved mystery to conspiracy theory and pretty much anything and everything in between.
All right. So of that broad range, what is your favorite to pursue?
So far, my favorite is probably conspiracy theories and cults.
Is there any cult that is not organized around a conspiracy theory?
No, not that I can think of, really.
We would never get an episode out if we did conspiracy theories because we would hit rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
We did at one time, I think in a different format, talk about conspiracy theories.
We did, but we jumped from one to the next to the next. It was, it would have been like
maybe we should be running some by Kevin to see if they have any merit.
Did Shakespeare actually write his own material?
Probably not.
That was concise. He's a pro.
That was
See what
pretty
he did
good.
right
That
there?
was a pretty quick episode.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
We could get a whole season done in this.
Yeah, at this rate.
In one sitting.
And yeah, why do you think people like conspiracy theories?
It's that unknown. It's that being able to, like you guys said, there's many different rabbit holes to a conspiracy theory, and not one person will ever be right until there's the definitive proof.
All right, here's a question for you that I've just thought up just now. Do you think language is a conspiracy theory?
I mean, why wouldn't it be? How can we have from different aspects of all over the globe have a way to communicate with each other, but in a different form? You know what I mean? Like there's so many different aspects of communication and not just verbal. It's, there's body language. There's, a whole, wide variety of ways to communicate.
Right. But so embracing assigned meaning is a form of conspiracy, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
Can we have like 10 minutes for me to ponder that?
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's true.
As complex as that question is, I don't feel like there's a rabbit hole to go down.
Oh, I absolutely think that those who give words meaning exert power in society. So there's super incentive to gain
100%.
power by creation of language.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
But do you think there are powers that be
That are invested in creating language?
that have a boardroom
Absolutely.
where they
No,
have a meeting and they say, okay,
No, I think
today's
there's
language
the
is
origin. There's the origin of language, but then there's the power that derives of it. But the maintenance of a conspiracy is people's just willingness to believe it, right? So we have all invested in the meaning of a word, but that's just a made up meaning.
What if dog doesn't mean dog, right? What if,
Right.
just going on the basic things. So we'll say, at some point, who pointed out that dog was a dog and a cat was a cat?
Mm-hmm.
What if instead dog was known as purple or orange, or, you know what I mean? Like, why does language have what it has? You know what I mean? That's what he's trying to say.
Right.
Yeah, and it was probably the more powerful people in the society that made those determinations.
That's right.
I'm not going to sleep tonight.
Yeah.
Your mind is blown.
Yeah. Language is a conspiracy theory. All right. All right. So on our podcast, we do something called the lightning round, and it is in-depth questions, and we like short answers. We'll do a practice one. Practice question is clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
All right. Starting with Jamie.
So you are the foreman of the jury, and black licorice is on trial. Do you convict, and what is your argument to your fellow jurors?
Absolutely convict. It tastes like trash.
Ouch. Best conspiracy movie.
Ooh. Best conspiracy movie. I don't have an answer for that one.
Okay.
Because off the top of my head, I can't really think. Give me a minute. I'll think of something.
I think he does have an answer, but he doesn't want to tell you.
Cha-ching.
Does black licorice have an accomplice?
Cough syrup.
Oh.
You are the foreman of the jury, and cats, if that's what they're actually called, are on trial. Do you convict, and what is your argument to your fellow jurors?
No, you don't convict. They're assholes, but they're still like soft and cuddly.
Do that. How many burner phones is the right number of burner phones to have at any given time?
That's probably not a question I should answer.
So good.
I don't want you to take it personally, Adam, that he won't answer your questions, but that is definitely a question he should not answer.
Yeah, no person should answer that question.
Unless you say 0. 0 is the answer.
No, it's
Right,
never
right.
0.
All right. Disneyland, Disney World, Disney Cruise.
Disneyland.
All right, you are the foreman of the jury, and the film Mamma Mia is on trial. Do you convict, and what is your argument to your fellow jurors?
Totally just based off the fact that I've never actually seen the movie, I'm going to go with convict, and because it's not really my style.
Okay, so first of all, there's no presumption of innocence with Kevin, and I am prepared with a backup movie, Titanic, go.
Do not convict, because Titanic is, I feel like, a very... it's a good representation of what could have possibly happened when the Titanic sank, other than there's a conspiracy movie for you, Titanic. That's a huge conspiracy in itself.
Wait a minute. There's this conspiracy that the Titanic didn't sink?
No, of course the Titanic absolutely
Come on, buddy.
sank.
We've seen it at the bottom of the ocean.
But did the
Right.
iceberg really do it?
But what happened?
But,
and why
but
did it go
what
down?
Let him
happened
answer.
leading
He's-
up to those events to cause that Titanic, to cause the ship to sink?
Yes.
Interesting.
Like, why weren't there any binoculars? Why didn't there's a bunch of, why weren't there enough lifeboats? Why weren't there, there's a ton of questions as far as like,
How are people involved in a conspiracy kept quiet?
I mean, over the years, history gets changed, right? It's whoever controls the narrative controls who gets to speak. There's a lot of people that don't talk, and there's a lot of stuff that gets lost to history. That's what causes conspiracy theories.
Jamie,
Final one.
final lightning round question.
What's the biggest favor that you've done for someone?
Biggest favor I've done for someone.
Besides appearing on the podcast.
Which, by the way, thanks for having me.
Happy to have you.
Biggest favor would probably be giving somebody money. I mean, that's usually the general consensus, or letting people, I've let friends stay with me before, stuff like that.
Speaking of which, I have this investment that I'm trying
Is
to
there-
find some people who might be interested in participating.
Not appropriate. Not appropriate.
Yes, whatever it is,
He's
yes.
in.
I'm going to be in your town. If you don't mind me crashing,
He's already
I'll
said
talk
yes.
to you about it.
Everybody knows. Stop at
Yeah,
yes.
don't sell through yes. Do
Why,
you have a
why are you
bonus-
still talking? The answer's already yes.
That's right. Do you have a bonus question?
You are the foreman of the jury, and the BHHcast is on trial. Do you convict, and what is your argument to your fellow jurors?
Convict, because why not?
We clearly did it.
Yeah.
We probably did do it. Excellent. So that's the lightning round.
That was the
Shut it
lightning
down.
round. All right, you did a good job, Kevin. All right, so to give people an idea of what they can expect about upcoming jury room seasons, episodes.
Right now I'm working on, I got H.H. Holmes in the works.
Okay.
I just did John Wayne Gacy. You can find me on any major podcasting platform, all 850 of them. I'm anywhere and out there. I'm out there anywhere and everywhere. I'm getting ready to start a YouTube channel, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Right on.
But yeah, other than that, that's it.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us, and continued success. And I think based on Jamie's lightning round questions, I think I'm okay with you being a 4-person on a jury.
Yeah, absolutely. and again, the podcast is The Jury Room. So, Sheep, let's make sure you head on over and check it out.
And by the way, I know we didn't talk about it, but I will actually make a legitimate pitch. When you are called for jury duty, you should go to jury duty.
Yeah.
All right. We appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you for joining
All
us
right,
tonight
thanks.
on the podcast.
Thanks, Kevin.
Have
It's
a
been
good night,
having you.
guys.
See you, buddy.
Thanks.
All right, that was Kevin, host of The Jury Room. Check him out. It's a great podcast. Again, true crime genre. There are thousands of them out there. We have selected just a couple to ask lightning round questions of. And we are appreciative of Kevin joining us and participating in the podcast.
Sheep, we're going to come back with our regular format. Please don't wander far.
Don't go too far.
No, stick around because I think we learned some stuff today and it's dangerous.
There's
out there.
danger out there. Don't wander.
Do not wander.
Stay home.
Stay home with the safety of the shepherds. We'll see you soon. Taka taka.
fire's getting low. This episode of the BHHcast is over. Time to go home now, sheep. Go on, back to where you came from. We'll call you back when it's time for another BHHcast. Taka taka.